Good morning, all of you. Today I am going to discuss about programming in Java and the Java's libraries and methods. So, what are the libraries in Java and what are the methods? So, libraries are actually made up of methods and classes, and we will have a deeper look inside it. Now, what are Java libraries? The Java development kit comes with many libraries which contains classes and methods for your use, and then these classes and methods that other people have written may be useful to you. So, for example, a math library that is inside the namespace of java.lang.math. Then there's a string library, java.lang.string. Graphics is java.awt.star and javax.swing.star. Networking library. There are many other libraries as well, but these are the frequently used ones. Okay. Now we will see what the math library holds. The math library provides many methods that you can use off the shelf. That is how they are implemented. You don't have to know exactly what is the function, what is the functionality. You have to know, but how they are made, that is of no concern to you. You just have to use that particular library or the methods inside that library with a proper class. So in order to use the method, what we have to do is we have to name the library, and with the help of the method, which is here shown as to be a static method like math library.x method or math.m, where m stands for any method that is given inside that library. Now here we will discuss a few examples regarding the math library. Double positive number is equal to math.abs, and minus 10 goes inside as an argument in the parenthesis. So we will analyze this statement. First of all, what we have to do is we have to look for the matter that is written at the right side of the equal to sign. It says math.abs, and it is taking as an argument. You will be able to know this very shortly. Like math.abs, abs is the method or the function that is called inside the math library, and that is supplied with an argument having the value of minus 10. So math.abs means there is an absolute method for absolute value abs, and it is a method of the math library, and as an argument is taking minus 10. Then what happens is that the absolute value of minus 10 is taken, and that is assigned to the variable that is on the left side of the equal to sign. Like in our example, there is double positive number is equal to math.abs minus 10. So the absolute function or the abs function of the math library will return 10, and this 10 will be assigned to positive number. Now this positive number has already been defined as a double variable. Okay. I will discuss about the return values also, but here you should be able to know that whatever math.abs function is returning, whatever data type the math.abs function is returning, the same data type as a variable on the left side of the equal to sign. Okay, then there's another example that double 2 cubed is equal to math.pow 2, 3. That is, math is again the library, and pow stands for power of. Power of is the function known as pow that is defined inside the math library. It is taking two arguments as input. First of all, the number whose power has to be generated, and the second argument is the power. So math.pow 2, 3 will return 8, and this 8 will be assigned to 2 cubed variable. Again, math.pow will return a double value, so we have to be clear that on the left side of the equal to sign, whatever variable we are having to catch the value returned by the math.pow function must be of the type double. Now the third example is double sum trig thing y is equal to math.sign. Now here the sign function is used. The sign function, most of you might be knowing, like it is used to find out the sign of a value. Now as an argument, what is done here, as you can see, math.sign is taking as an argument math.py. Math.py, again pi is a constant that is defined inside the math library that can be used directly without writing 22 by 7 or 3.1415. So math.py will return the value of the pi and the constant pi, and this and the sign function which is taking it as an argument will compute the sign of the pi, and this sign of the pi will this function will return the sign value of the pi, and it will be assigned to the variable sum trig thing y, which is of data type double. So these are some of the functions and the things that can clear up your mind regarding what a method is. And again, now looking at the next slide, we can there are actually certain types of methods. Now, like there are instance methods, there are static methods. Instance methods are used with the objects of classes. First we define an object, and then that object will have a proper method which is known as an instance method. But if we directly want to use a method as a property of a class itself, not the object, then we say that it is a static method. Now what is a static method you see in the slide? Like suppose there is a class and it has been defined with a static method, then how can we use that? We will write the name of the class, then we will put a dot sign and then the name of the method directly without making the object of that class, and then using that object for the method. So static methods are the functions or methods that are called directly by the class name, not the object. Okay, so the name of the class, as you can see the syntax, like name of class dot name of method, then there will be opening parenthesis and closing parenthesis. One should be very clear that the method always has opening and closing parenthesis. Then the arguments can be optional. You might not be having any argument, you might be having some arguments, but the thing is that they should be enclosed properly in parenthesis. So here is the example of a static method that first starts with a class name, then a dot, then the name of the method, and then the opening parenthesis, then the comma separated values of the parameters or arguments, then the parenthesis will get closed. So this is the syntax of a static method. Here, for example, we will see what is the math library having. Like the class java.lang.math. This java.lang.math is the full namespace name of the math class. So whenever we are going to use a particular method or methods of a particular class, then that class should be included inside the program, and that can be included inside the program by using the full namespace by the Java programmer. So this, whenever we include a java.lang.math class, then whatever properties, whatever functions or variables or constant that are held by that particular class are also open to that program or that code or that program. Like whenever we include math, then there will be sign method, there will be square root method, there will be pow method, there will be abs method, there will be maximum method. Now many more functions are also included. All nearly whatever you can think, like trigonometric functions or some other functions, like whatever functions that are related to maths are included. So what happens over here is, when we include the math class, we are powered with quite a few functions or methods that are exposed by that class. So as you can see over here, these methods are open to us. You can use them. We have already used sign, POW, ABS, and as you can see, uh, the prototype or the signature of the methods are shown over here. Like for example, math is the name of the method, max is the name of the method, int is the return type. A function has its name, its return type, its arguments. It is not necessary that each and every method is having some number of arguments or parameters, but there has to be opening and closing parenthesis. It may include, it may have or not, it doesn't have, it is dependent upon the usage of that function or definition of that function. But the things that are allowed in a method are the return type, the name of the method, and the argument list if there is any. Okay, there is one thing more that, as you can see over here, static. We will delve into the details of static as we progress through our lecture, but static means that this method max or ABS or POW or SQRT or sign or whatever function that is or method that is made static can be used directly with the name of the class. As you can see in the earlier examples, like we are using math, that is a class, and ABS function. We are directly using the ABS function or method with the class name. Here POW also is used with the class name. Then sign is also used with the class name. Okay, there is no need to generate or create an object or instance and then use it. So we can go into the details of the sign function as an example of a method. Like it is defined as a static double sign double A. This is the prototype of the function, or you can say the declaration of the function, that static double sign double A. What do you mean by this? This means that this is a static method, then whenever it is going to be used, it is going to be used with the name of the class. Then it is returning a double value. This is the this is the return value. Then the name of the function is sign, and it is taking just one argument, that is a double, and the name of the argument can be anything because it is a variable, so it can have anything regarding as the name. So this is the example. And how can we call this? We have already seen in our previous slides that we can call sign method by directly using the class name, and then we can pass any argument, and it will give any argument means an argument that is of the data type double, as it is defined in this signature of the function or a declaration of the function or method. So 2 into math.py, as you can see, we have used it in the previous slides, and you can also pass a direct value like 3.0. Then these two examples are okay, they are clear, they are fine, they will run, they will not introduce any kind of error or problem. But what about these? Math.sign without any argument. This is not acceptable, because math.sign is defined to be, a sign method is defined to be having definitely an argument of a double type, and then here we are not passing any argument. It is not optional. First of all, you have defined that it must have an argument that can have a double, that has a double value, and so is the and we have an argument has to be passed, but here we are not passing any argument, so this will generate an error. Secondly, here there is only one argument required, then here we are passing two arguments. This will also not go well, it will return into an error. Then this example shows that the argument which you are passing is enclosed and then with double quotes. Whenever a thing is enclosed in double quotes, it means that it is a string, and string is a data type of a reference data type in Java, but it is not permissible over here, because here the argument is having a double data type and we are passing a string, so this will also generate an error. Now we are what about the return type? In this example, we have shown that we have not disclosed anything regarding what is the return type or what is the return value. We have just shown that how can you call this function. So this is not enough. As you can see here, the dots are shown for the remaining code that has to be written after learning the thing which is on the next slide. So what about the return type? Whenever a function or a method returns something, then it has to be dealt with in a proper way by defining the variable of a same data type, whatever it is returning. Then that variable will hold the return value. Like as you can see over here, double angle is equal to math dot sine 3.0. So this will create this will get the value of sine of 3.0. It is used as a static function. As you can see, it is defined as a static function. So it is used directly by the name of the class, and whatever it is going to return, because sine returns a value. How can you say that sine returns a value? Because as you can see in this example, in the format or the signature or the declaration of this particular sine function, it is returning a double value. So you have to receive this value in a variable that is of double data type. Okay, so double angle will give a mat.sine, which will return a double value. It will be allotted to the angle variable. Okay, and whenever you are going to print this value, it will show the result. Okay, now this is another a bad example what it can return an error, because mat.sine 3.0, what will it do? It will return a double, and here you are assigning a double to an integer variable, that is you are narrowing it. So this is not possible. It will generate an error because the value that is going to be returned double, which is which has a storage greater than as compared to integer. So a big value cannot be assigned to a small value without proper casting. So this will result into an error. Now some other examples of libraries are that come with the Java software development kit SDK are the java.lang package, then java.util, and java.util does have a very useful class known as a scanner, like java.util.scanner. This is used to take input from the user. Okay, now making our own methods. The methods which we discussed are the methods that are supplied with Java. And how, if we want to make our own methods, then first of all, what is the need of a method? The need of a method is if you want to do something, okay, then you do it by performing certain statements or certain instructions. If you want to do it again and again, then by writing such statements and instructions again and again will definitely be impossible, and it will totally be impractical also. So what we do is we compose those statements into what is known as a method, and whenever we want or whenever we feel like executing those statements, we just perform or call the function, and that function is all the set of statements that are needed to be run. So that function, whenever that function is run, those statements are executed. So there is no problem of getting into some impracticalities and impossibilities. So methods are very useful. So often we can use a library method to solve our problem. Okay, so as we can use a library method to solve our problem, so we can make our own libraries, and we can all make our own methods, which we can call at our own liberty, but whenever we want to call it. So now, as we see through this example, like convert numbers to binary, everybody has done this thing, like converting numbers from decimal to binary, binary to hexadecimal, hexadecimal to octal, these kind of functions. So if I want to convert numbers to binary, like a decimal number has to be converted to a binary number, this thing can be done. What we should do, we keep dividing the number by 2, and we also store the remainder. Then we repeat this process again and again, and we print the numbers or remainders in the reverse order. So this is a function that has to be done regarding how to find the binary value of a decimal number. So look at the slide. Like, how can we do this? This can be done by, suppose you are taking the input as a number. Whatever number you want to convert into binary has been taken up in this variable known as number. It is of byte data type, no problem. So why byte data type? Because we are taking just numbers that are less than 128, or the range is between minus 127 to 128. So we want to perform conversion to binary. So what will we do? We will first divide the number by 64. Okay, and then we'll find the remainder of 64 number divided by 64, and then we will divide that number by 32. Then what will we do? We are not using any function over here. We are just repeating the same statements that we perform in order to get the binary output of a decimal number. So and we'll repeat the thing, like we'll find out the modulo, and then we'll divide it by 16, then 8, then 4, and 2. So this is the method of generating a binary number out of a decimal number. Okay, now what we have done over here is we have just found the binary number of a decimal number entered by the user. Suppose this has to be done like for if we want to display the number together with the 4 following ones in binary, that is this task is again repeated with different numbers, then the whole thing has to be done again and again, as you can see through this example. This is very, very vulnerable as regarding to the time taken by it, not exactly the time taken by it, but the effort given by the programmer. So this is not very valuable or very useful as far as programming is concerned, because this will introduce a lot of complexity for the programmer. And so what we need is a method. Okay, as you can see, regarding just copying and pasting again and again, what the problems are, very long repetitive code is not readable. It will be totally very, very confusing for any other person to read this code, and it is error prone. Okay, if you have performed some mistake when copying and pasting, that will result into very hazardous consequences. Then what if we discover in our own initial code was wrong? Suppose what the 5 lines of code which we wrote earlier, which we are copying and then pasting, is wrong in itself, then all the 3 or 4 pastings that we have done will also be wrong. So what is a better solution? A better solution is to write a method and call it multiple times. What we'll do is we'll make a function that will generate a binary output of a decimal number, and whenever we input as argument any binary number, it will a decimal number, then it will be converted into its binary equivalent. Okay, so keep this in mind how we are going to make a function. But before making a function, some things are very mandatory to be understood. First of all, to write the method, we need to determine what name do we give to the method. The name should be meaningful. Okay, like in this case, when we are making a method for performing binary operation on converting into binary from the decimal number, we can make the method's name like decimal to binary or something like this. Okay, but it should be meaningful. The name should be meaningful. And how many parameters does it need? How many parameters does it need? In our case, it needs only one. What are the types of each parameters? Like, which in our early example, when we use the sign method, the static sign method had the as an argument, it had double. Okay, it was having only one argument, but there can be many number of arguments according to our own need. They are all separated by a comma, and they can be different in their data types as well. So what are the types of each parameter? How many parameters are used, what are the names that should be given to the parameters. These all things must be kept in mind before designing a method. And why it is done? It is done because whenever you are coding, and if you are in some industry, then the name of the method and the name of the method and the types of the parameters that are passed and the number of parameters passed are all governed through some protocol, so, or rules. So in order to follow those rules, you make your methods that are also quite readable by a person who has not made that function. Okay, another programmer or anybody like him. So these are the things which should be kept in mind before making a method. As I said, what name can you give to this method? It can be given a name like display in binary, no problem. How many parameters does it need? We want to convert a decimal into a binary, then it needs a single parameter, that is only a single one parameter. What are the types of each parameter? Byte is a type, and we have given byte as the type for the argument. What name should be given to these parameters? I will give a name, suppose n. It is up to you, whatever you want to give the name. Then should the method be usable in an expression? No, we don't have to use that thing. So it is not returning anything. It is just what is something has to be like if there is a function which is not returning anything. There are functions that can return and that can do not return. So if it is not returning anything, that it is understood to be having a void data type as a return type. So we have to write void. And if it would have been returning, then we would have written the data type, it would have been returning. Okay. So binary conversion, as you can see, this is already discussed, like how it is functioning. It is first of all dividing by 64, then again 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, and then finally it is printed. Okay. This function is made. So the 4 statements that were used, or sorry, 6 statements that were hard coded, these are the statements without the function. What we are doing is we are making a function and we are uncovering that these statements into a function. That's all we are doing. So we have made a function display to binary. Display in binary. What is the declaration or what is the signature of the function? It is returning a void. It is a static function, and it is also a public function. What is public? Public means that it can be accessed from anywhere. Okay. Now this is the name of the method, and the data type of the argument is byte, and the name of the data type name of the argument is, or the parameter is n. Okay. So then what we are doing is system.out.print n. Okay, n that is suppose I give 28. Okay, and it will write like 28 decimal equals, and that the same functionality will be done over here, and it will result into a binary. Yes. So what will happen over here is we have stored all the statements together into a function, and as you can see, on each and every line it is computing it and printing the 1 or 0 whatever is coming by the division of its number, the remainder. Okay, so this functionality now has been covered inside a function known as display in binary. If we want to call a function like here, we will write first of all, it is a static function, so it will be succeeded by the name of its class, then displayed in binary, and then within brackets we will write any number for which we want to generate the binary code. Okay. Now what is parameter passing? When we call a method, we must provide values of the correct type. Okay, we already know, we already discussed regarding what are the types of, what are the parameters and what are the types of parameters. So if it is expecting a particular data type of a parameter, we cannot provide something else in majority of the cases. Like as we discussed earlier, a string cannot be passed, okay, integer cannot be passed, So integer can be passed. We will discuss about the data type conversion in the next chapter, I think. Okay. Now, what is this function is having? Like call a method is often desired, passing a different value as a parameter. This is what it is doing. It is taking the number from the user. Okay. And suppose I give 100, then byte will store 100, then it is converting number, that is it is first passing 100, then 101, then 102, 103 and 104. Now one thing is quite evident over here, that is we have declared this function to be having a void return type. So in that case we do not have to provide anything to catch or anything that receives the value that is returned by the method. So in this case, as you can see, the methods can be directly called without any we are not having anything like double ret value is equal to display. We are having nothing like this, because it is having void in its declaration. As you can see, this method is having void in its declaration. Okay. And one thing more, like this is the class which is known as binary conversion. Okay. And we are having a static function defined here, display in binary. So here we can call this method directly inside the in the class without having the name of the class written over here. Okay. So here, as we are calling this method inside the same class in which it is declared, we need not provide any class name prepended before the name of the method. Now this is it is showing the process flow, how the things are going on. Like here, whenever we call a method with an argument, this call is made to this, it is passed inside it, like number will be passed inside n. Okay, there is a function display in binary which is defined over here, and then when it is called, this is a function call and this is the definition. Okay, so when we call it with an argument which is here number, it will be copied to this argument like n number, the whatever value. Suppose you are passing 100, then this 100 will be copied inside n. Now n will hold the value of 100 and its binary pattern will be printed. Then again we are when we are passing 100, then what is happening over here is n is having the value of 100, and then the binary pattern is printed, and this function, whenever all the statements are executed inside the function, then the control gets returned back to the statement following the function call, method call. So display in binary, the next call is passing 101 inside it. Then what it is doing, it is copying 101 inside n, again performing the same statements, and then coming through the next statement, and this goes on. Okay, what is a void method? A void means nothing. It is not null. Void is you cannot say that void is null. Null is entirely a different thing. Void means that it is nothing. You can say void to be nothing. Like if we do not have any data type associated with the return value, then we can say that that function has a void value as its return type. Okay, so when a method returns void, it can't use it as part of an expression. If it is returning void, that there is no need of getting anything to capture the return value of a particular method. Void means nothing, it's returning nothing. The purpose of the method is to have side effect, not to perform a direct computation. One possible side effect is to display something on the screen. Okay, suppose we are just wanting to print something on the screen, then we need nothing to be returned, because the functionality inside the method is doing the work for itself. Like in system.out.println, we print a thing, we are not returning anything, because when we print, whatever we pass as an argument into system.out.println gets printed on the screen, but it is not returning anything. We are just calling it, and the function is not returning anything, as it is defined to be void as a return type. Then there are methods that return value, and they are called methods with return value. and return type as well. Okay, suppose here is a function like hypotenuse. Hypotenuse function is having two different arguments. Both are of double types. First is named a, the second argument is named b. Name of the function or the method is hypotenuse. It is returning a double, and it is a static method, and it is also a public method. This is a static method. It means that it is used with the name of the class. It has nothing to do with the instantiation of the objects. So it is used directly with the class. This is the static method. So what is it doing? It is doing like double h is equal to math.sqrt math.pow a comma 2.0 plus math.pow b comma 2.0. Oh, it is a bigger expression. It is having three different function calls over here. So what it is doing? Listen patiently. First of all, this is a function known as hypotenuse. Okay, it is returning a double. It is a static method. It is accepting two arguments a and b, both are double typed. Now this statement that double h is equal to math.sqrt brackets math.pow. First of all, you have to be clear with what the innermost function is or the method is returning. Innermost method over here are two that are separated by a plus symbol. The first call says math.pow a comma 2.0. What will it do? This power method is already defined. It is a static method of the math class. So what it will do, if we pass as an argument in this hypotenuse function a 2 and a 3, then a will be 2 and b will be 3. So a to the power of 2.0 and 3 to the power of 2.0 will be computed. Both will be added, and then the square root will be taken by the outer function of sqrt of the math library, and the result will be assigned to h. This h will hold the whole value of this expression, which is composed of quite three, which is composed of three methods. Okay, no problem. So the value gets assigned to h, and this value is returned. So hypotenuse is a function, and it is having two values, and the inner functions inside this function are using the value of the arguments, or using the value arguments applied inside the hypotenuse. Okay, so hypotenuse will compute the necessary computation, and the return value will be h, and this function will return the value of the expression. Okay. Now, what is a method header? It is also known as a declaration. What is it? It is just the return type, the name of the method, and the argument list. This is known as a declaration, or what we can say the method header, or the prototype of the method or the function. Like in this case, the name of the method is even, and the return type is boolean, and it is having only one argument, and that too of integer data type. And when you write only this particular header or this particular information without giving the body of the method, then it is said to be a method header, or just a declaration, or just a prototype, or a signature. Okay. But when we define the body inside a method, then that thing is known as implementation or definition. Simply like boolean is even, int n, return n modulo 2 equals 0. What will this function do? It will just return whether true or false. Like it is having a return type of boolean is already defined by the declaration, but it is also having a body. So this is known as the implementation. Okay. Now what are the pros and cons of methods? The advantages of methods are, very importantly, code reusability, because we have seen an example when you're converting 4 different values, decimal values, into binary number. It was quite a bit of headache as executing that thing again and again. So and at the same time we were also including inside it confusion and lack of reusability. So first, the major benefit of the methods is the code reusability, and reduces code duplication, and easier debugging. Why it is easier debugging? Because the complexity of debugging or the exception handling goes proportionately with the number of lines of code. So what happens over here is when we make a method, we reduce the number of lines of code. So in that case, we have easier debugging. Now the problems are decomposed. What are the problems are decomposed? That is, with the help of a method, we are able to diagnose properly what is exactly happening inside that particular method's body. Hides tricky logic. If you do not want to share with anybody else that what you have done in your code, then you can do it with the help of methods, and as they can include bit tricky logic that is not easily understood by a second person. Easier to read and understand. The methods are quite easier to understand and read if the person who is reading is well acquainted with what are the methods, what are the prototypes, what is signature, number of arguments, return type, static, instantiated. So it is easier to understand. Then what are the disadvantages? Sometimes what happens is it can take a lot of time writing a method but it is not exactly a very big disadvantage of a method, because if you are once clear with your logic, then you can write a method quickly, instead of writing the statements 10 times. It is much easier to write a method that encapsulates or that contains the logic. Now one thing more that I would like to discuss in this lecture is writing comments. What are comments and why are they used? Comments are actually used to tell about or to apprise or inform any other developer or the same developer if there's some complexity in the code. Then you can write in comments or exactly in the English language or whatever language that what exactly you are trying to do. If you are suppose if there's something that is having some amount of confusion inside it, that you want to recall it later in some time, and you are thinking that you may forget it, then what you can do is you can write comments. With the help of comments, you can easily recall at some time that yes, this was a thing that was meant by me while developing a particular line of code. And it is also, comments are also useful for other programmers to get understanding and comprehensibility, like what the designer or the developer or the programmer intended before writing that particular code or line of codes. Now what are the syntax for comments? If you want to write a single line of comment, then you can do what you can provide a double slash. Okay, then whatever you will write will not get compiled. It will only be it will only be used for the purpose of reading. Okay, and multi-line comments can be introduced by first typing a slash and without any space typing an asterisk sign and performing the reverse, as you can see over here when closing it. So this is a multi-line comment, and it can be used to enclose more than one lines of code in a multi-line comment. What are the purpose of comments? As I already discussed with that it help a programmer to understand what the code is doing. A good comment will make it clear what a complicated piece of code will do. Okay, so these are the things. A good comment example. What is a good comment example is suppose you are writing a particular method like compute area circle, and within it you are passing a double radius. Okay, then you are performing radius into math.py. So this is a small function, but if you want to give comments for any function, that useful information might be that what are the inputs, the radius of a circle, what is the radius of a circle, then the method returns a double. These are all comments. Okay, these all can be also these can also be enclosed inside multi-line comments by typing a slash and then asterisk and then performing the reverse type of writing in the end of the code, end of the comments. Now one more thing, that it's not in fact a good practice. It is a bad practice to write comments just without their need. Like this is a very it's containing quite a few of, quite a bit of lines that are turned into comments, but it is not exactly portraying what the developer wants to do with this particular method or a function. Okay, so the code should be concise, and but they should be short. Okay, and but they should convey what they intend to be, what the code intends to be. Okay, so this was all regarding this lecture. Thank you very much for listening this video. I hope it would have been informative. Meet you in the next video. Thank you.